Horror Fanatic here. I'm exhausted, and this is my review of Thor by Wayne Smith. I learned about Thor through a film review of the movie Bad Moon by Obscura Lupa, and she mentions that it was based on this novel, and I really loved the concept the instant I heard it. A werewolf story told from the perspective of the family dog was an idea that I was instantly sold on, and I'm really glad to say that this book didn't disappoint with. The use of perspective in Thor being the main character makes what I think might actually be a mediocre book really, really good. Actually, if it was the same plot, like a series of events, and it was with the perspective of someone in the family, like one of the humans, it wouldn't have the same draw. It wouldn't be as good. But I like it because it also plays with the idea of how dogs see people, and especially when they're like close family dogs. And as much as I love that the perspective comes from Thor 90% of the time, it occasionally switches perspectives to Thor's owner, who he knows as Dad, and maybe once to someone else, but it's very much Thor the majority of the novel. It also becomes part of the downfall of it, as Thor doesn't do the best job fleshing out the other characters beyond Thor. Dad is touched on heavily, and mostly towards the end does his character really come together for me, and the ending is absolutely wonderful with both Dad and Thor's interactions with one another, but really to the detriment of the rest of the supporting characters. The two kids, the mom, are not as developed or as integral as I would hope. The kids are really important for the plot towards the end. The mom plays her role, but none of them feel as deep or as real as Thor and Dad do. And you can tell that's where the main focus of the relationships in this book are. I mean, there's the strong ones from the father, to Dad, to Mom and the kids, but it feels tertiary to Thor and his. Also, the werewolf, Ted, who is the brother to Mom, is interesting, but at the same time doesn't feel all that tragic. He gets mauled and his girlfriend dies off screen by something, and it's really vague to how he became a werewolf. But once he becomes one, he doesn't ever seem particularly remorseful. At most, I feel like his character feels inconvenienced, because I never really get the sense that he's afraid of what he is, and that's about it. With him, it's just he's the werewolf, but he never seems to care that he's one. He moves in with his sister and her kids, and even though the dog knows he's a werewolf, and he recognizes this dog knows something's up, he stays. And he stays when things start getting bad and it starts upsetting the family. He stays, and that makes him not seem like a character that is remorseful about his actions or that terrified of the monster he's become. And even towards the end, he's like, "Oh, I guess my secret's out." It's no big deal. And his character felt really one-dimensional, laughable villain at that point to me. And it really shows a disparity in the care taken to write Thor and Dad to just everyone else. The Dread location was Wasn't the best at all. It's confined to a single home in some backyard, whose backyard is adjacent to some woods, where they go. There's jogging paths and stuff, but they never really explore the rest of the neighborhood. You're just house, forest behind it. You go far enough, you get to the pound. That's it. That you learn about the area. You learn that there's a beach, but you don't know how real far away it is, because it's Thor's perspective. So he's in the car and he's enjoying all the smells he's learning, but you don't get a sense of the passage of time or distance from the house to anywhere else, causing everyone to feel super isolated, even when later on it references neighbors and stuff. Like, they're in a community and you get no sense of that. Now, if the intention of a horror, in my opinion it is to leave the consumer of said media with negative emotions, and its goal is to inspire said negative emotions, then this works really well as a horror novel. As at the end, while touching, it hit me with a weird sense of, like, I got sad, and it stuck with me for a little while, and I really did enjoy the read. It's not the hardest. It really likes to play with language a bit from Thor's perspective. Family is a pack. He puts them in certain orders. He thinks. It feels like you're reading from the perspective of a dog, and it mentions that he'll have, like, complex thoughts and they're just instantly gone. And I really like that idea, because Thor does a great job encapsulating the feeling of anyone who's had a dog can kind of imagine their dog there. And yeah, that's it for Thor. And I liked it. I would recommend it. More if you're into a, like, pet owner relationship with a healthy dose of werewolf mixed in. But, like, I wouldn't recommend it for, like, someone who wants, like, a hardcore werewolf story. This isn't for you. But if you like a much lighter story that still has werewolves and a sense of, like, some dread in there, but it isn't a real commitment to read. This next book came as a suggestion from a coworker of mine, and it's by Frank Pietrelli, and it is The Oath. So let's see how well they know my taste in books. Until next time, keep reading.